Let me get some more lighting. Hang on. This is gonna work. We will see if this is going to work. I don't know if it will. A bit low. Let's see. Hopefully that'll work a bit better. Okay. Light. Too much light. Oh, there it goes. It's gonna adjust. All right. It'll adjust. Yeah. All right. We'll wait for everybody to kind of log on here for a few minutes. For just a few minutes. Hi, everybody. Well, we knew the eclipse season was going to be a little crazy, wasn't it? Eclipses are always unexpected news. Always. What? You want to say hi real quick? You can say hi while everybody's logging on. Let's say hi. Hi, hi, hi. Let's say hi. Let's say hi to everybody. Okay. Yes. Oh, breath is bad. Breath is bad. We're just waiting for everybody to log on because otherwise I have to repeat myself a lot. Can I put you down now? Sure. Can I put you down? Are you just going to sit on my lap? I'll figure that. Yeah, that's fine. You can sit there. Yeah, you can sit there. It's fine. I will tell you this week and next week are going to be kind of difficult. Just the way that Pluto and Mars are boxing things out. So it's just going to be, like I said, well, a little tough. So yeah, he is feeling better with his paw. Absolutely. He tore that dew claw. Man. So better. He's good. He's just super clingy today. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but over the last probably 4 days, animals and kids, super clingy. So, but like I said, I'll just wait a few minutes for everybody to kind of log on. Otherwise, I'm going to be talking, repeating myself a lot. So, the biggest thing I can tell you is put your phone down. Turn off your TV and put your phone down. Best thing you can do right now is go outside and just take a deep breath and release. Remember, we're still coming off a lunar eclipse and a triple day of 9, which is all about release. It's all about release. So, like I said, I really wasn't going to talk about kind of what happened yesterday, but I think that if you're sensitive in any way, shape, and form, and I don't care if you are a light worker, star seed, whatever you want to call yourself, I think we can all agree that there was some sort of catalyst that started yesterday. And it's going to boil down to what are we going to do as a collective? The biggest thing I can tell you is that the bad people want to split, divide, and hate, and you can't allow that to win. You can't. And that's just kind of what it says in the 10 Commandments: "Thou shalt not kill," and you treat everybody as if they're your love thy neighbor. I think we forget basic humanity, or at least some people do, and that's on them. But even though we may have a difference of opinion, that doesn't validate that. And it's not really, it's just opinions. And I think that we need to start coming together as a collective, to stop the division and the hate, because there was definitely a catalyst yesterday, and it's going to go one of two ways. It's going to go really pretty good, or it's going to go pretty bad. And that's going to be based on what we decide to do moving forward. And I say we as a collective, not political, as a collective. Either we're going to start coming together when we see people hating each other. We need to start intervening when we see bad things happening, instead of just grabbing a cell phone and recording it and minding your own business. Somehow we got away from that. Somehow we got away from just human decency and kindness. And love is the only way that you're going to be able to heal that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be some bumps. You're damn skippy there is. But like I said, at the end of the day, when you die and I die, and the black guy dies, and the Asian girl dies, and the gay one dies, and the transgender one dies, our souls are identical. They're identical. We chose to come here to Earth because of the polarity, the differences, and the different emotions that we can have here in this world. And in a weird way, we chose to be here in this time-space reality. And you chose to be here not because it's the end of the world, not because it's something horrible. It's not. It acted like a catalyst. And you have to sit back now at this point and say, okay, what am I willing to do? And the best thing that you can do is love thy neighbor. Even though that they're different, even though they may have a different opinion, value system, or whatever it is, love thy neighbor. Like I said, we're going to have to start coming together. And when we see people doing wrong things, and instead of just grabbing the phone and recording, we're going to have to start intervening. We're going to have to say, no, don't do that. That's not right. That's not right. So, and I think that with cell phones and TVs, we've become very desensitized. And children should not look at this and be like, it's just gun violence. And I'm like, that's like I said, that's, and it's not really, like I said, it's not my opinion to state really much other than their love always wins. God always wins. Light always wins. And right now, you and I and everybody else are getting tested. And how you respond and react to this is going to show your value, your character, your integrity. And you have to start standing up for, like I said, unity, not division, not hate, not us versus them. It's really not that. So, and it's easier said than done in the heat of the moment. Totally understand that. But this is where up to this point, you've been practicing your spiritual practices. You've been practicing how to be in the present moment, how to respond and react differently with love. You've been practicing all of that. Now you're going to get tested. And how you respond and react to that, like I said, speaks about your karma, speaks about your character, speaks about your integrity. So, like I said, whether you agreed with his view or not, it's irrelevant. He's a human being. And to see what I saw, and I'm sure you guys saw the video too, it's not right. Not right. And it makes you, it'll make you humble quick. It makes you humble. That's the word I can use. Hang on. I'm gonna go close my door. Amazon driver. What do you know? So, but like I said, I don't want everybody to think that, you know, that the devil's going to win on this. And we're all always worried about the Antichrist and all this other stuff. And I'm telling you, that's not the case. But we have to come together. Nobody's coming to save us. We need to come together as a collective and begin to stop other people, that when we see other people hurting other people in front of us, we have to start intervening. We just have to. So, and that's really what it's going to boil down to. It's, you know, be kind to other people. So, and I'm fully aware, like I said, you're going to get tested. We always get tested in an eclipse, always. But again, how you respond and react is all on you. And this is why up to this point, you've been practicing your spiritual practices. So when shit hits the fan, you're kind of taking a step back and really introspecting. And I think we all are. I think we all are. And something like this always makes you really take a step back at you being a human, and your faith. It's a test of faith. It really is. And that like I said, and how people respond and react is going to be very detrimental at this point. And like I said, but I also understand to each their own too. So, but I just think that somehow we got way far off track. And I think that a lot of us feel that way. And this isn't something that you can just go on Facebook and just kind of bitch and complain about. This is something where now we have to begin taking action. So again, if we see somebody being rude to somebody else, we have to start intervening and say, you know what, clearly you had a bad day, but let's not take it out on the servers here, okay? So, and if more people stand up and do that, then this person who's doing it is going to realize that it's no longer tolerated. I think somehow we've tolerated it for so long because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. And I think we're past that now. I really do. So, and that's where, like I said, we need to start coming together, united, despite what your political opinion is. So, but make no mistake about it, a catalyst has begun. I find it ironic that his company was Turning Point USA. Yesterday was absolutely a turning point. It absolutely was. So, and like I said, it's the biggest thing I can tell you is prayers work. They do. Prayers work. So the best thing that you can do is, like I said, learn how to respond and react with dignity and with respect. And the more you practice that, the easier it is. It really is. But like I said, we're going to have to start coming together as a collective. If you see somebody doing something bad, we're just going to have to start standing up and saying, no more. No more. So it's a very somber day, I think, for a lot of people. And again, I think it's a very introspective day to where we're all kind of taking a step back and looking at our own lives, and realizing it could be gone tomorrow in a heartbeat. And you're still here. You're one of the lucky ones that's still here. So, but like I said, the best thing that you can do is start treating people better and start intervening more with people that might be arguing and fighting and everything else, and instead of just grabbing a phone and recording it. So, and this heavy energy isn't going to go away until after this eclipse. And I'm telling you, September is an extremely difficult month. So very difficult. And October is pretty up and down as well. So, and that's just the way the planets are sitting. Pluto and Mars are buddying up, and Mars is the god of war. Pluto is the god of the underworld or change or transformation. So that's why I'm telling you, put the phone down, grab a book, rebalance, recenter. You don't want to be watching that over and over. That's not something that you want in your subconscious. So, and the best thing that you can do is, like I said, rebalance and recenter yourself. So, and I'm, praying for the family, especially. I can't imagine those kids seeing what happened because they were in the crowd. So, but like I said, it doesn't matter. No kid should see that. And it happened. So, like I said, that's my biggest spiel on that, is that a catalyst has begun, and now we need to start coming together as a collective. And we were I think we were all feeling this tension. And now that the tension is kind of, the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, now we have to start doing something with that. And we need to start coming together. And maybe we need to start coming together in a meditative state at a certain time so we can start, fixing vibration, because that is something we can do as a collective. But again, this is something that if you're upset about your school system, run for school city, run for the school boards. If you're upset about how healthcare is working, get involved in your community. So get involved. Being a Facebook warrior isn't really going to do it. So like I said, now is the time to kind of step up for change. If you want change to happen, you're going to have to kind of come together and work for it. So, and whether that's just holding space with prayer and meditation, hey, that counts too. That really does. So, I really truly think that I think the focus here for the next probably remainder of the year is really going to be focused on mental health care, and I think that is a big shortcoming. It's a big shortage right now in the United States. So, but like I said, I think that's going to be kind of a focus, so we can start healing people. But all in all, like I said, this yesterday marked a catalyst. Make no mistake about it, it's a catalyst, and they're going to try to divide us as much as possible. And that's why I'm like, and the best way that they can divide us is through your phone, through the TV, and through your Wi-Fi, through what you're viewing. So, because I'll tell you, most people are really hurt over this and really disturbed. Most people are. So I know that people that are more service to self really aren't. But like I said, most of us are pretty hurt over this. So the best thing that you can do though is like I said, put the phone down. Don't let that run in your head. So and instead really start, like I said, it's a test of faith. It's a test of faith. So, okay. Outside of that, like I said, the energy is still going to continue to kind of build here. I will tell you the last week in September, like the 20th to about the 27th, difficult. So I don't want what happened to have you not go out in public, have you not go on your vacations, have you not go do things that you already had planned or that you want to do. Don't let fear win. Don't let fear win. You can't. So, but like I said, like I said, September was one of the most unpredictable months of the year. And like I said, and we're not done yet. So I expect, honestly, 2 more shocking. I knew that there was going to be 3 shockers. So there's 1 shocker. We still have 2 more. So I don't know in what direction. In what direction. All I know is these things kind of sometimes happen. So that way, again, we can come together as a collective because we need to. So, okay, now that that's done. So, but like I said, I'm all for love. I'm all for, it's a collective. We have to come together. That's all there is to it. Because if we go divided, we will all be divided and nothing will happen. Nothing good would happen if we all get divided and rooted in our opinions. So, so has this been another awakening like 2020? Where'd that go? Right here. No. Yes and no. So in 2020, what happened was shocking news because of COVID, right? And a lot of people began to go through a spiritual awakening. This very much like what happened in 2020, it's still shocking news. So I would expect a lot of people to begin to go through a spiritual awakening with this news. Yes, I expect that. So, let's see. If crying randomly, especially last 2 days, you want to be by yourself, it's normal, Anne. Remember, we just got off a lunar eclipse and 999s, and that is all about releasing, completion, end of cycles, end of chapters, like ending of everything. And so then the solar eclipse is all about new beginnings, masculine energy, push. So that's some intense energy here in September. And so we go from completion to new beginnings, and we're weirdly in the middle of that right now, weirdly in the middle. And so this is where I've been telling you, 1 day at a time, maybe even 1 hour at a time. I will also mention that the energy right now for personal is very focused on past. And so if you know people that have attempted to unalive themselves at one point and another, people with severe depression, this energy is extremely intense. You may want to check on them and see how they're doing. So, because this energy, make no mistake about it, is extremely difficult, but it's really focused on past and childhood stuff, and it's all bubbling to the surface. And so the best thing I can tell you is get it out, release it in a healthy way, not to other people, and don't stuff it down with drugs, alcohol, distractions. Literally get it out. Get it out in a healthy way. So, but like I said, don't let this keep you at home. Don't let something like this, don't let fear win. Don't let fear win. Do I use a pendulum for answers sometimes? Being real with you, the only time I use a pendulum anymore is when I need to use it on a map to locate somebody. So I like using pendulums, especially if you're beginning to learn how to communicate with your spirit guides and yourself. So I don't think there's, I think there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're doing it. Again, before we use any divination tool, we're always going to say something like, God, angels, please surround me with the white light of the Holy Spirit. And I only want to talk to people for my highest good, because we're not going to use some tool just to use the tool, because who knows who you're going to communicate with. We have to make sure that we're protected and we make it very clear who we want to speak to. So that way you can trust it. But if you're using a pendulum, your pendulum is only meant for you. It's not, because if you ask a question like, oh, does so-and-so love me? It's going to give you a false read. And the reason why is because you don't have that person's permission. So that's like, it's only for you. This eclipse, dang, been sick all week. And I'll tell you, it's okay, because the body, again, is in a healing mode. That's why a lot of us are tired. It's because all these emotions came to the surface. You got rid of it. The body will then push the restart button to recalibrate. It's healing itself. That's what it does. Any change that you want to do right now, perfect. Perfect. So if you need to rock the boat, if you need to set a boundary, which unfortunately yesterday, some people that you know very well could have responded in a way that might have hurt your heart. So again, maybe we have to put up a boundary, but either way, now's the perfect time for big changes. Big changes. Go for it. Let's see. Hang on. Oh, there we go. That's one. So how do you know if an answer is from you or it's imagined? Here's the deal. It's your imagination is your intuition at this point. Your intuition feels like your imagination. I feel like I get paid to use my imagination all day. So if something pops in there, I just say it. And they're like, oh my gosh, how'd you know that? I'm like, I didn't. It just popped in there. I just repeated. So your imagination at this point is your intuition. And it's hard to trust that. I'm telling you, trust your imagination. That doesn't make a lick of sense. So, but over time, you practice it, then you kind of get, but again, you're learning their language. So you got to be patient with that. But oftentimes, if it's spirit led, it's very fast, very quick, and your ego or your logic goes, wait a second, did I just hear that? Did I see that? Did I just smell that? Did that just really happen? If your ego asks a question, it was spirit led every time. So yes, here's the deal with this one, sleeping a lot. Either you're going to sleep 8-10 hours with a nap, or you're sleeping 4. It is A or B. So same with food. You might be super freaking hungry right now, or not hungry at all. It's A or B. That's just eclipse stuff and how much you've been releasing or letting go. That has a lot to do with that. So don't have awareness, been so tired this week, headaches for a couple weeks, dreams, and usually don't remember them. Is your body healing, cleansing without you knowing it? Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's why right now, if you're like happy, sad, bitter, angry, happy, sad in a matter of 2 minutes, yep, release it, let it go. It's okay. You're going to be emotional. Don't stuff it down. And I say this especially for my dudes out there. Don't stuff it down. Get it out in a healthy way, yes. but don't stuff that shit down. It's coming to the surface so you can finally release it, so your body can then get in a place of allowance to heal. So, yeah. But you're gonna, yeah, it's just gonna be crazy. Let's see. Emotions are all over the place. Yep. Expecting a bridal shower on the 20th, expect the unexpected. Yep. Absolutely. Like I said, from the 20th to the 27th, 28th, it's difficult energy. And depending on where it shows up in your chart is going to kind of depend on how it's going to kind of hit you. So, but the biggest thing is, like I said, it just expect the unexpected from the 20th to the 27th. Let's see. What does it mean when you're going to sleep and you see a flash of a face when your eyes are closed? It's very clear detail. Usually that's going to dawn. Usually that's your spirit guide, and your clairvoyance is really kicking in. So almost always when you see a face and you're like, that you look familiar, but I can't place you, that's usually a spirit guide. So what does it mean when you're sleeping but feel like you're awake in a deep sleep and heart and head feels heavy and it's hard to wake up out of? Lacey, that is because you were astral traveling. Your body, your soul left the body and freely farted around and barely got back in time. So, and when that happens, spirit doesn't like that. So I will tell you that's just because you were astral traveling, and when you got back, you were a little late to the party. So, but all in all, that's usually where it's at. So just the next time, just like, God, angels, would you just make sure that I get back into my body in time so this doesn't happen again? I will tell you a lot of times, that's where kind of paralyzing dreams kind of come into. And again, spirit doesn't like to see that. So I've told my spirit guides a long time ago, I'm like, you need to show me a clock or a watch, so that way I know to get back in time. So, Tracy, you're not the only one. She's like, been having a lot of gut punches and curveballs this week. Feel like everything is working against you. It's not. It's because it's unraveling. It's unraveling because you don't need it anymore. Things will unravel because you're not supposed to hold on to them anymore. You think you are. No, not necessarily. Let's see. So, Katie, understand this. So usually when you have a mom who, you're right, you're in a weird position, but understand this, your kids are always number one. So I know that, like I said, the ex-husband thing, I get that. But again, like I said, take care of the kids, take care of mom. And like I said, the ex-husband, you're going to have to work that out. And that might have to be like a quick court proceeding. So that way you can gain custody so you can go. So that might be like a court intervention quick. So that can happen. So, but like I said, make no mistake, your obligation is to your mom and your kiddos. So like I said, try the best that you can to see if you get an interjection in there so you can go visit. Let's talk about this. Wondering if your spirit guide is still around. Yes, they're always around. Here's the deal. It's gonna, if you're going through some drama right now, you're not going to be as intuitive as you normally would. Because your reality, your shit that you got going on is always going to take precedence over your ability to connect to spirit guides and stuff like that. So deal with the drama, deal with the crap that you need to, and then you'll be able to communicate again. So just understand, sometimes we kind of get like covered so we can deal with our crap. So, and that's where I'm like, deal with your shit, deal with your drama, deal with what you got to, so that way you can then reconnect. So it's not, you're not disconnected. They're still around, I promise, but it does feel like you're disconnected. I get that feeling. Best way to calm anxiety or nervousness without medicine: meditate, 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 meditate. You have to learn how to control your mind. Your mind is controlling you. That's the problem. That's the problem. So I said things are unraveling. Does that include jobs too? Yes. If it's not supposed to be in your orbit anymore, it's going to get kicked out. And that's what, like I said, that's what eclipses do. Eclipses are like snow globes. They take your world and shake it up. And when that stuff falls back down, it's never the same. It's not the same. And so that's where I'm like, if you got friends leaving you, if you lose your job, if you got this going on, it's a blessing in disguise. You don't see it yet, but from a big picture standpoint, from a spiritual perspective, it's a blessing in disguise. It really is. Not easy though, right? Yeah, that's where I'm like eating completely off diet, sick with cold and cough, it par for the course. That's where I'm like right now, we're already low on energy, fatigued, tired. Watching things that are negative right now are not going to help your cause at all. It's not. Like I said, put the phone down, grab a book, like go clean your house, go old school. So your cleaning helps with anxiety, by the way. That's why I'm like, it would not surprise me if a lot of people are cleaning their house as of last night, today, and tomorrow. So because when we have shocking news, the first thing we usually do is clean our house or we cook. And the reason why we do that is it's a natural grounding mechanism for fear, which is anxiety. So that's why I'm like, cook and clean all you want. It's a good thing. That's a good thing. Just bought a book today. Sweet. Like I said, I grabbed my book. Let's see. Yeah. Why was the energy like this and we were just kids and didn't know any better? I don't remember my parents struggling the way the collective is right now. It's because, number one, we got out of a 2-parent household. That has a lot to do with it. And number two, everything is now at our fingertips. Younger generations are getting exposed to things that are making them numb to reality. And it's not the children's fault. It's the parents. Kids are always innocent. Kids are always innocent. It's the parents' job to parent their children. And parents aren't really parenting anymore because they're distracted. So we need to get back to basic human connection. And I think that's where it's going to have to start, is putting the phones away and having basic human connection again. And I think kids growing up nowadays, that is something that they want really bad and they crave that. But it's getting harder to come by. And I think that we need to start getting back to that. So, because we were raised, I mean, I was raised in the 80s. I'm a Gen X kid. So we didn't have cell phones. We had bikes and we came home when it started getting dark. So, and I think that kids need to be outside more. Like I said, they need to be kids. So instead they're wasting their time on iPhones and iPads and that's never good. So, but everybody's going to raise their kids differently. So, yeah, I was going to say work in a school and you'll see it firsthand. It's true. So, and again, this is where as a collective, we need to start coming together for solutions. We already know what the problem is. We need to come up with a solution. So, and again, if this is something that really bothers you, then consider running for the school board, consider running for, political offices, your local city councils. So consider, running for hospital boards, things like that, because that's how you're going to change things. That's truly how you're going to change things, and support the people that are trying to change those things. So, let's see. Let me see. I'm trying to find questions. Sorry. Do we have extra energy to clean, or is it misplaced energy? I won't say it's misplaced. Again, when we clean or when we cook, it's because we're scared. We're unsure. We're unsteady. So I usually, I know when my husband is unsure and unsteady because he organizes his closet. If I come home and his closet is organized, we got a problem. Actually, he's got a problem, but we have a problem. So like I said, usually when I'm upset is when I clean. That's when I'm upset. So, let me see. Oh, sorry. There's a lot of comments, not a lot of questions. What does it mean when you're almost asleep and you feel like you're in two different places in time in between? Usually it's because your soul is already out and your body isn't quite asleep yet. So you'll have this view and then you'll have that astral view, if not a remote viewing type of situation. People that are natural remote viewers, which is when your soul stays in your body, but you can kind of oversee things like from a bird's eye view. Astral traveling is when your soul leaves the body. So people that are more likely to remote view, believe it or not, are musicians. So musicians have the tendency to be able to remote view fairly easily. So I'm not a good remote viewer. Astral, yes. I'm not a good remote viewer though. So so I will tell you, Sean, that once you begin to see replicating numbers, you're going to see them every day for the rest of your life. But if you're seeing a lot of replicating numbers in one day, that's usually when you're vibrating at a high frequency, and that's just kind of spirit's letting you know that you're in alignment. Those are the ones that you want to ask for, like, all right, God, this is what I need. So that's the best time to ask. So any advice for those who can't sleep through the whole night? Here's the deal. You're still in the mindset thinking that you need 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Remember, enlightened people only need 4 to 5 hours of sleep. Somehow you've been told that you need to sleep 8 to 9 hours, and it's not true. But if you wake up and tell yourself, oh, I'm going to be tired, well, then you will. So how your last 5 minutes of the day and the first 5 minutes of your day will absolutely determine the next 24 hours. So wake up out of bed saying, you know what, today's going to be a good day. Don't dwell on how shitty you slept. Because again, with your third eye open, that affects the pineal gland. The pineal gland affects your melatonin and serotonin. You don't need to sleep as much as you think you do. The problem is you think you do. No, you don't. No, not really. I've been getting up at about 4:30 every morning, going to bed at 11. It's fine. So give you an example of how to raise vibration. It's simple. Anything to make you happy. Whatever makes you happy at that moment in time, do it. As long as you're not hurting other people. As long as you're not hurting other people. So absolutely anything that makes you happy. Happiness, gratefulness, or joy, or thankfulness, or love. So those are high vibratory type of emotions. Anything that you do to get you there. So the 3 worst emotions that you can have is fear, guilt, and anger. So, and right now there's a lot of fear, and I'm like, put the phone down. Like I said, get back to the basics, get back to your faith, get back to nature, get back to rebalancing, recentering. This rattled a lot of people's cages, but it's supposed to. It's a catalyst. It's supposed to. It makes you stop and really think about not only yourself, but the big picture of things. Like I said, we'll have to start coming together as a collective to stop the foolishness. So, that's a good one. What can you take? How you take on the physical pain of others, Miss Empath? What can you do to stop this? First things first is before you go in public or even to work, say something like, God, angels, please surround me with the white light of the Holy Spirit. And then you're going to imagine yourself in a big white bubble. That bubble acts as a buffer between you and them. And it keeps your auric field a little bit closer to you. Because when you're in a strange place with strange people, your auric field naturally goes out very far to protect you. But we want to kind of pull it in when we're around other people. So that's the best thing I could tell you is bubble trick. And then number 2, also recognize it. Be like, okay, I was happy a minute ago. Now I'm not. And it's not me. Who is it? Who is it? And oftentimes you can figure out who it is pretty quick. So, and then what I would tell you is understand that just because you're in a good mood, they're in a bad mood, put them in a bubble. That's what we do. Love your enemy. Put them in a bubble of light and say, God, please help them. I can't right now. Please help them. That's how we help. Prayers always work. They always do. So, absolutely. Love the bubble. It's true. So true. Good question, Brinley. What does it mean when you see eyes or the shape of an eye when meditating? That means to tell me that your clairvoyance is officially on. It usually starts off, clairvoyance usually starts when you close your eyes, you see what looks like purple lava lampy looking things. And then pretty soon you'll start to see like shapes. You might even see faces or like feet, things like that. And then pretty soon you're going to see usually geometric patterns, like maybe triangles or circles. And then eventually you are going to see an eye shape, which is a third eye shape. And that has to do with everything with your pineal gland now being open. And so that tells me that your clairvoyance is officially on. Now, clairvoyance, make no mistake about it, it's not like you're going to see dead people walking, shit like that. It doesn't work that way, but you will see things more off to the corner of your eye. You might see when you look at the sky, it looks more pixelated. You might see more sparkles. Maybe when you go to bed, that has a lot to do with clairvoyance. So, and like I said, that's all kind of part of it. It is normal when your third eye is getting adjusted or balanced for you to have kind of aches and pains right here in the eyes, in the back right here, and then down the neck. Very, very common. So that just tells me that your third eye is kind of stabilizing. So that's all third eye stuff. How do you work on start seeing auras? What I would tell you is when you wake up in the morning, put your foot out and look at your foot. And what I want you to do is, when you stare at something and your eyes go murr, and they kind of start doing that, let your eyes do that, staring at your foot, and then just look on the very outside. You'll see what looks like a gray kind of aura. So the more you stare at it, the more you practice it, the more you'll see that aura kind of go out. You could do it with trees too, especially in the spring. So fall is a little, like winter's the hardest, but you can still look at trees and see that kind of gray on the outside. That's the aura. You can do it with animals too. So, but that's a really easy way is when you wake up in the morning, because your eyes are kind of fuzzy anyway, take a look at your foot and see if you can see your own aura. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, changing your focus on purpose. It's like you're not seeing straight. You're just, when you stare at something, like I said, then your eyes kind of go, like that's what you want. That's the best way to see auras. Caught a woodpecker on the side of your house, spiritual meaning. Oh man, I know it does. I can't think about it off the top of my head. And what I would tell you is don't go to Google and say, what's the spiritual meaning behind woodpecker? You're going to get a million answers and they're not going to make sense. The best thing that you can do is say, okay, Google, I had a dream about a woodpecker pecking on the stucco of my house. What does that mean? So any more AI is going to answer it, but try to, you can go to a website and things like that. So, but that's where I'm like, it's easier for you to find the dream meaning on something that's usually a lot closer than just saying, oh, what's the spiritual meaning behind it? Because it's really few. There's a lot of different meanings. So, let's see. Yeah, this is funny. Been very clumsy and having the dropsies isn't normal. Yep, absolutely yes. That's when like defensive driving is a must. You're like I said, you're going to be tired, lethargic. Heart palpitations very common with the tummy issues right now and the weird headaches. So ear, headache, balance issues, pretty par for the course. So, and like I said, that has a lot to do with old emotions coming to the surface. Dawn is asking, or Crystal Dawn's like, do I have spirits around me? I will tell you that I don't know how people can feel alone because if you knew how many spirits were around you all the time, you'd actually get a little freaked out. So, I mean, that's just your spirit guides. Then you've got guardian angels, and then you got your loved ones. And then if you want to call on saints or Jesus or archangels or whatever, I'm like, yeah. So everybody has spirits around them at all times. At all times. So, like I said, you're never alone. You are never alone. Never. Mm-mm. No. Let's see. So, you know what? Yeah, here's the deal. To each their own. You know, I know some people that think that what I do is evil and demonic until they lose a loved one and then they want to talk. So, yeah, it's almost like people fear what they don't understand. People fear what they don't understand. That's why I'm like, the best thing that you could ask for, wisdom. Wisdom. Because if you understand it, you can't fear it. And like I said, and I know some people don't understand that, and to each their own. If they want to think that, that's okay. I'm not going to wish them ill will. So at the same time, I'm like, again, it's simply a difference of opinion. So I'm like, okay, you got your opinion, I got mine. I don't agree with it, but doesn't mean I'm going to argue with you, because I don't have to. I know who I am and I know what I do. So, and if somebody wants to judge me based on something like that, I'll let them. It's okay. Like I said, I can forgive ignorance. Stupidity, another thing. Ignorance, they fear what they don't understand. And instead of them opening up a dialogue and discussing that with me, they just assume they better not, because you never know. So I'm like, well, it's fine. What is the devil? How do you define it? Opposite of God. Simple. Light, dark, black, white, yin, yang. But we're also human, and we chose to come here because of that polarity. We chose to come here because of the polarity. Like I said, if you want perfect, go home. Like, that's what heaven is, perfection. But you don't learn a lot if everything's perfect. So we choose to come here. So to the devil's playground, literally. So, but that's where, like I said, right now, evil is really trying to separate and divide and put fear in people. And I'm like, don't let the devil in. You have to do the opposite. You have to come together as a collective. You have to be kind to other people. You have to be tolerant, but still use discernment. Mm-hmm. What does it mean when sound frequency, the room lowers and you get ear ringing in your ear? That's usually a shift. So that happened to me twice, once today and twice yesterday. And when there's shocking news like that, it reverberates. We all feel it. And so that's why you very well could have had that yesterday. Normally we feel that with like a big solar flare, maybe a Schumann spike, but people forget, as a collective, we can do that too. And as a collective, we can be like, one person is more powerful than what you think. You're just told that you're not, and that's not true. But if a group of people come together for the same purpose, those energies don't double, they actually quadruple. So, but like I said, with the shock and the solemnness that happened yesterday, like the catalyst solemnness, we all felt it. And that's when that room vibrates that way. We all felt that shift. We all felt it. And this is a type of shift that a lot of us aren't familiar with. And it's not a comfortable feeling either. It's not. So, but it's also part of the process. It's part of being human, and understanding in a bigger collective type of way. What do orbs mean? I'm iffy on orbs. And the reason why I say that is half the time they're dust or they're bugs. So, but if they are true orbs, it depends. Usually the purple ones, the blue ones are going to be angelic. The white ones gold ones are usually angelic. The purple blue ones are usually spirit guides. Green ones have the tendency to be loved ones. They could still be purple and gold too. But again, I'm not a big person on orbs. I'm really not, because the biggest thing is that they're pretty easy to replicate. So, but sometimes it is, your dead relatives usually, unless your house is haunted, then it could be that too. So, let's see. So that's a good question. How do you integrate all of me and accept the negative emotions while working on the positive? Heal your past. You integrate by forgiving yourself and other people. Easier said than done when somebody does you dirty. So, and you have to give them the apology or accept an apology that they're maybe never able to give. So, and that's how you integrate that. That's what shadow work is all about. Shadow work is owning the negative parts of yourself, what you've done and what you've done to other people. And then ultimately forgiving yourself for not seeing the lesson in it sooner. So, but that's what the Dark Night's all about. It's accepting the negative behaviors of yourself and changing and not making those mistakes again. So, easiest way. Not easy though. Why are we not hearing about more earthquakes around the world? There's other news that'll trump right now. But again, that's why I'm like, I will tell you, you don't want to hear the news right now. But I think that, like I said, California, Utah, up into Oregon is going to be a little spicy here for a bit. So, and remember, we got 3 news, and I'm like, we got one that happened yesterday. We still have 2 more shockers, and it would not surprise me if one of those happens to be an earthquake or a volcano. That would not surprise me. Let's see. Can we just be tired of the crap? I think we're all tired of the crap, but allowing it to continue can't happen anymore. Like I said, this is where we need to start intervening when it comes to people hating on other people. That we're just going to have to start intervening. That's all there is to it. Let's see here. Stagnant energy. Yes. Like I said, right now, if you feel like you're stuck in neutral and you're on a hamster wheel, that's par for the course within an eclipse. But at the same time, the reason why you're getting kind of frustrated is because it might be time to change. So it's almost just like God will make you uncomfortable in a situation until you get the hell out of it. And if you won't, he'll start taking people away. So that's what I'm like, I think you're getting told that it's time for change. Let's see. Son of spiritual gifts, super sensitive, sometimes to larger groups in certain situations. Teach him how to do the bubble trick. Teach him how to do the bubble trick. So, and the other thing that I would tell you is tell him to, when he feels that nervous type of energy, because it hits you in the chest. When he starts feeling that nervous energy, push that energy down through his feet into the earth. Push it down. So that'll help to not get it all pent up right here. So bubble tricks work really well, and tell him to push that energy down. Sensitive kiddos like that, black rocks are always really good. So it helps to kind of, for them to process that a little bit better, and protects them a little bit too. Let's see. How are dreams affected? Like I said, either you're going to be super, super intuitive right now, or you're not going to have a lick of nothing, and it's going to be A or B. Right now, I didn't even meditate today. I'm so tapped in. I think I could see sound. So that's where I was going to run to the grocery store. Today is not a day. I can't be around that many people because like I said, I already know I'm tapped in too much. So yeah, that's why I'm like, I've been outside quite a bit today. Probably going to go back outside before the night's done again, just so I can hopefully maybe sleep 4 hours. I'm not expecting to though. It's fine. Let's see here. When one seed signs at a higher rate, what would you speculate? It seems to be an uptick. That means to tell me that naturally you're vibrating at a higher frequency. So naturally you're happier. You're just kind of vibing. And so when you're seeing a bunch of signs, either it's you're getting ready to pivot somewhere and make a bigger change. But two, when you're vibrating at a high frequency, you're going to see signs 24/7 all the time, especially the replicating numbers. And especially if you're asking for guidance. Remember, ask and you shall receive. Ask. Hey, this is what I need. Help me out here. Follow the weird, you'll get it. That's simple enough. Follow the weird. So yeah, Eva, I was just talking about that. Either you're super freaking hungry and inhaling food right now, or you aren't hungry at all. I was just talking to Sky earlier. Her and I'm like, have you been hungry? She goes, not at all. I'm like, me either. So I didn't even eat supper yesterday. I just I was not hungry. I'm not hungry today. I mean, I'm talking all day yesterday. Last 3 days, I haven't been hungry at all. So have you been hungry?
Nope.
Yeah, he hasn't either. So, and then there's other people like Paige. Paige is like, I am inhaling everything I see right now. I'm like, yeah. So it's going to be A or B. So it just, like I said, it's very, right now the energy is very black and white. It's A or B, left or right. Like it really is very, very black and white right now. So either you're going to be super hungry or not at all. You're going to be sleeping a lot or not at all. So it's like I said, it's either A or B. That's what, like I said, it's eclipse energy. Eclipse energy is black and white. There is no gray. So very hard to maintain a balance in an eclipse. It's very difficult. For even seasoned people, it's not that easy. So seeing black floaters a lot when moving, when you look to the right and left. So just remember, just because it's gray, dark, and gritty doesn't mean it's evil or demonic. So a lot of times when spirit tries to show up, they're pulling energy in, and you're going to see a void or a black spot. So it very well, like I said, all you have to say is, if you're from my highest good, you can stick around. If not, beat it. Get the hell out of here. What causes bipolar? Abandonment issue by the opposite sex parent. If you're a girl, your dad wasn't there for you. So if you're a boy, your mom wasn't there for you. 9 times out of 10, not every time, but usually it's the opposite sex parent abandonment issue. Yeah. What causes uric acid? Salt and alcohol. Salt. So anything, you mean more natural foods, more fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Oh, your husband and you are the black sheep of the family at a family gathering. Have a plan B, have an exit. So, yep, you're there, small talk, hi to everybody, grab your shit and get the hell out of there. I don't care what excuse you have. Just make sure you guys have an exit strategy. So, because you know as well as I do, it's no different than when you talk to somebody on the phone. You're going to talk to them in about 10 minutes, they're going to start that conversation is going to start turning. Get the hell off the phone before that. So this is no different. So like I said, just as soon as that conversation starts turning, get the hell out. But understand this, just because you're enlightened and they're unenlightened, they're not going to understand what you're saying. They're not. You're going to be labeled weird and all this other stuff because you're up on a mountain, not at the top, but you're climbing a mountain, and they are in the valley of illusion. And that valley is filled with rocks and sticks and stuff. And you're like, man, there's like a running creek over here and some flowers. And they're like, no, there's not. You're just imagining it. And then they're going to throw rocks at you to try to get you back down to their level. Your job is to understand that until they go through a spiritual awakening, you can't help them. But you can pray for them. Put them in a bubble of light. Remember, love your enemy. Put them in a bubble of light. So, because number 2, they're not going to go anywhere near you because those energies are polar opposite. They won't go near you. So, but at the same time, like I said, put them in a bubble of light, have an exit strategy, but don't talk anything about this. You can't. Muggles don't understand. Muggles don't get it. That's okay. Hopefully they will. Hopefully after yesterday, maybe that catalyst that occurred, maybe they might start to go through a spiritual awakening. That'd be great. That'd be great. Let's see. What causes cold sores, Carrie? Not speaking your truth. Like you really want to say something and you're just going to bite your tongue because you're biting your tongue because you don't want to start an argument. You know what you want to say. You're not saying nothing. That's why. At some point, do we all see the light? That's the point. The point is, if you're here on earth, you want to go through a spiritual awakening and figure out what your purpose is and do your purpose. That's the point. That's the point of life. And learning lessons along the way. Simply just remembering treating people the way that you'd want to be treated. That's it. That's all you have to do. Sounds simple. It's not. But eventually, if you don't see the light, you will in heaven. One way or another. It's okay. Panic attacks reoccurring. I would expect those would be difficult between now and probably about November. So, and that's again, that's old school trauma resurfacing in a subconscious way. And you're all like, where in the hell is this coming from? I'm like, well, it's again, much like I've been saying, it's a release. You're releasing fear in a weird sense, in a weird, different sense. So that's what panic attacks are. How do you feel your purpose? You don't really. You follow your curiosity. If you're curious about learning about that, go learn about that. So because it's not so much when you figure out the purpose and doing that, it's the entire trip to get there is just as important because you're going to need to know all these skills until you figure out what your purpose is. So that's why a lot of times I always tell my students, I'm like, when it comes to you reading other people, don't tell them what their purpose is because number one, what if you're wrong? Right? And then number two, the giving them their purpose, they're just going to do that and they're not going to learn all the lessons to get there. But even if they know their purpose, they're not going to be able to excel in that because again, we still have to learn all this first. So, are we in the beginning of good versus evil? No, it's always been that way. It's been that way. Remember, the light is getting shine or it's getting brighter on the dark. We haven't seen it before. Now we're starting to see it. Technology is bringing it up, but understand the light is getting shown, lit, whatever the word is, on dark. It's always been there. It's always good versus evil. That has been in the history books. Absolutely. How you respond to that in the moment when it crosses your path, that's your test. That's what you have to work on. Yes. If we decide to help each other, can we come to the light together? Yes. That's part of my job is to prepare the collective so we can come together when we're called or when we're ready. And I will tell you that yesterday was a catalyst. That was kind of the tipping point. Ironic. Yesterday was a tipping point. And so, like I said, at this point, how you respond and react to this is going to say a lot about your character. But again, we need to come together as a collective so we can stop the mistreatment of other human beings, no matter what. So I'll comment on this one. I will tell you that it is already written in the Bible that no mystic, no person, no one will know when the world will be ending. No one knows that. So you don't have to worry about that. Second of all, it's not the world ending that's giving you anxiety. The fact that you haven't gotten to a point where you are comfortable with dying. And that's a scary concept, but you should. because at the end of the day, you're leaving everything here behind. You aren't taking anything with you. The only thing that goes is your soul. And I'll tell you, if I go home tomorrow, I'm all right with that. I live my life the way that I want to live it. And if that scares you, then you got to start looking at your life. Are you truly living it for you? Or are you living it for other people? Because you came here to experience life for you. Yes, helping other people. Yes, I understand that. But is it at your expense at this point? Are you staying in between the lines because you're scared about what other people may think? You shouldn't, because that's a big regret that I hear from the other side. So everybody always says, I wish I would have been true to myself. I wish I would have done the things that I wanted to do. And I'm like, so do them. Why do you have to wait? Why do we have to just do it? Just do it. Absolutely. Let's see. Bree, I discussed this earlier, but I'll repeat it again. Yesterday, there was a catalyst that occurred, a catalyst. And it very much was a tipping point. Charlie Kirk, tipping point. And it was. And the reason why is it makes us all take a step back and look at each other as a collective, and individuals too. And, you know, are you going to continue to allow violence and negative things, or are you going to start facing them? And that doesn't always just go with the collective. That goes with you personally too. I mean, are you still going to, you know, like play the game according to what your mommy and daddy want you to do? Or are you going to start living your life the way that you want to? So all in all, though, the biggest thing I can tell you is that we have to start treating people the way we want to be treated. And somehow we got desensitized to basic human connection. And I think that we need to get back to the basics. And we need to get back to basic human connection. And that means putting your phone down, which is highly addictive. And putting the phone down and getting back to basics. And this is why I've been telling people, I'm like, now's the perfect time to clean your house. Now's the time to organize things, read a book, rest. So, but don't go to bed watching the TV and watching the phone. Like I said, that's not good to have in your subconscious. So, but I will tell you, it's not so much like, again, black and white. It's always been there. It's always been there. But the negative is really getting the spotlight right now. But negative never wins. And besides, with so many people enlightened now, so mind you, I have almost 300 people watching. With so many people enlightened right now, they're running out of time. The negative is running out of time, and they know it. And they know it. So, but the light always wins. Always. Make no mistake about that. And I think that right now a lot of people are rightfully scared and nervous about stuff. But I'm like, do not let fear dictate your life. Do not let fear win. You can't. You can't live life like that. You just can't. Can't do that. So, so why him? I think because he really wasn't in politics. I think that, like I said, I think a lot of people are saying that the way that he went was very similar to JFK and Martin Luther King. So, it's really how you view that. That's everybody's. They're each to each their own opinion on that one. But either way, I think that we have a serious mental health crisis right now, and nobody wants to talk about the mental health stuff. We want to talk about gun violence, but we don't want to talk to the person holding the gun. So I think this is a big mental health red flag, and we need to come together as a community and figure out a solution, because we have to at this point. And like I said, if we can afford to spend a bunch of money overseas, well, we can afford to start spending it here and start figuring out how to help people with their mental health. So, because that's really what it's boiling down to, is a lot of kids are not getting the attention that they rightfully deserve by two loving parents. They have one parent that's, too busy and on their phone, and these kids aren't getting the true attention that children deserve. And again, kids are innocent. Kids are always innocent. Adults, not so much, but children are to a certain point. How do you meditate? However you can do it. Honestly, there's no right or wrong way. Your job is just to sit there and learn how to stand yourself. Easier said than done. But your job is your brain isn't going to sit down and shut up. Ain't going to happen. No, don't even think it's going to. It won't. So, but your job is to sit there for 10, 20 minutes and not distract yourself from yourself. Yeah, not distract yourself from yourself. So, and I will tell you, with somebody with ADHD, that's not easy. That's not easy. So I think that, me personally, and this is just my opinion, I think that we need to bring back mental health institutions like what they used to have back in the day. Now, remember, we didn't know much about mental health stuff back then, so we did some crazy shit. So I'm just saying, I think we need to start bringing back more facilities that if somebody in our society constantly, is a harm to themselves and other people, then maybe instead of a jail, we put them in a facility where they can rebalance and recenter and work on their triggers and traumas, especially those, and see. So I really think, though, that getting them down to basics would also be good too. So I just think that, like I said, we should bring back the big mental health institutions where they're on 400 acres and everybody has to participate as a community. So you have to go milk the cows, you have to go get the eggs, everybody has to participate, everybody has a job. So, and I think that would help everybody as a collective to get back to those basic grassroots things. So, because I think that mental health in our society right now is a joke. There's not enough people to help. There's just not. And we have to come up with a solution. We really do. And I think that a lot of us know that, especially people that are in that field, nurses and every healthcare workers, everybody. So we just need to start coming up with solutions. So, and I don't care if we have to use, I don't know, lotto money to do it. We'll figure it out. So, but again, these are questions that need to be raised to your government. So maybe we should start writing our senators. Maybe we should start writing our politicians and be like, hey, we need to come up with a solution. We have a broken system. And I think we all agree with that. So we have a broken medical system, a broken educational system, and a political system that is extremely divided right now. So, and I mean, it's all fixable. But I think we're focusing on the problems and bitching about the problems and not looking at solutions. And we need to start looking at solutions. Really do. Really do. So, yeah. And I agree. There's just, like I said, it's extremely overwhelming. It's costly. It's overwhelming. And this is, again, as a community, we need to start coming together. So, and that's not only just, people with mental health issues. This also goes into, veterans and things like that. So I just don't think that there's enough help available. So not enough help. So any other questions? Like I said, it's a very somber day. It's humbling. Tanya. Thoughts on tensor rings and tower busters? Should we use them at home? Not only yes, but hell yes. They work. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Do your research. Go down your rabbit holes. Not only yes, but hell yes. I actually have a tensor ring around my electrical box. Because I want to protect myself from EMF energy. Absolutely. Yeah, you'll be fine on the 17th with the surgery. Don't sweat it. Energetic transmutation. I will tell you, there are certain people in this world that can absolutely do that. So they can, that's basically what an empath's job is to take a negative emotion, transmute it into a positive one, and put it back out. Because energy can't die, it must be transformed. So that's where we can take that negative energy and transform it into a positive one. This is what we can do as a collective if we pray or meditate. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. What are they? Oh, tensure rings. They basically are like taking like the cubit, which is back from the pyramids, and you're taking a copper wire and putting it in a circle, but you're winding it. So it energetically it blocks energy flow. So basically what I can put. So I will tell you that I think that what that green lady, I forget what her name is. She's a politician, something green. She is proposing a bill at the federal level to stop chemtrails, at least some of it. I know that there's a lot of loopholes in that, but at least she's starting that process. So, because like I said, as far as I'm concerned, chemtrails are, yes, they are real. No, it's not conspiracy theory. It's actually proven fact, because they want to keep us dumb. Because intelligent, wise people will make change. And they don't like that. They like fear and division and hate, and they like to separate us out. And I'm like, don't let them. Don't let the negative win. You can't. You can't let the negative win. Like I said, don't let fear right now not have you go to the grocery store, not have you go to a concert, not have you go out with your friends. Don't let fear dictate your life. That's letting the devil in the driver's seat. So you get to pick who gets to drive. So, but fear should not be one of them. Absolutely not. Not right now. Not right now. And I'll tell you what's funny. Once you face the fear, you realize it wasn't that big of a deal in the first place. Is Project Blue Beam real? Unfortunately, it might be. That is one of the possibilities. Depending on timelines and shit like that, it's a possibility. Husband died 2 months ago. Any advice on grief process? Baby steps, Jody. Baby steps. Number one, remember that you're going to see him again. I promise you, you will. Try to, the best that you can, be still. If you're still, and especially if you had a relationship with over a long period of time, if you are still, you're gonna feel, you're gonna hear, you're gonna see, you're gonna feel his presence. Promise that you will. But you have to be still a little bit. And that's not easy. So, but try to be still and pay attention to the signs. And when you do see a sign, tell him, I saw that, thank you. Because when you see it and acknowledge it, it opens up the communication line between you and him. So absolutely. Yep. So in the meantime, baby steps, and I'll put in a prayer for you too, because that's never easy. And grief is time and faith, time and faith. Let's see. I would absolutely agree with that statement. Yep, absolutely. So, and on that, we're going to end the live. So before I forget, not this Friday, not tomorrow, but next Friday, I will be in Grand Island, Nebraska, doing a live audience reading. So if you guys are interested in that, it's on my website. All of my information is on my website. Just go to Psychic Kelly with an I, psychickelly.com. All of my info is there. I will be, it's not up posted quite yet, but it's on Eventbrite. I will be teaching a Reiki workshop in November. I will have also a Crystal 101 class. I believe that's in October sometime. So I have a lot of different courses and a lot of different classes that you guys can do via Zoom or in person, whichever. So again, all my stuff's online, so you just check it out. In the meantime, I will probably go live a little more often here, just because it's my job to kind of get you guys to calm down, put the fear away, and like I said, get back to the basics. The best thing that you can do right now is listen to your body, listen to what you need. So, and rest. It's okay to rest. You don't have to earn it. You don't. Turn the TV off, turn the news off, get back to the basics. Read a book, go outside, check in with your friends and family, even if you disagree with them. check in with them, because this energy is very intense. For those that are depressed, and possibly suicidal, this energy is very intense and very, very difficult. So just make sure that you're reaching out to people right now, because we need that human connection again. We're missing the human connection. So get back to talking to people. Pick up the phone and talk to them. Don't text, just talk to them. So, and this weekend is a perfect opportunity to hang out with family and friends and just reset. All right. Take care, guys. Have a good weekend. All right.